Okay, Tashara, let's get you caught up on what's going on in the fight against COVID-19 this Monday morning as we continue to see big numbers. There is a lot of talk about whether or not we could see another shutdown. Let's begin our coverage with Chris Sadeghi. He's live this morning with what the governor had to say about the case numbers. Hi, Chris.
Well, Carol, we've seen the case numbers go up as testing has expanded. However, there are other numbers that indicate it's not simply a matter of expanded testing. And if those numbers continue to rise, we can expect to see another shutdown. One of the numbers I'm talking about, the amount of hospitalizations. As of Friday, the amount of people hospitalized in Texas went over the 10,000 mark. Yesterday, there were 10,410 across the state in hospital beds. Another very concerning number, the amount of deaths. Texas averaged reporting 25 deaths a day in June. That has now tripled to 79 a day over the past week, pushing the total over 3,000. And the positivity rate in the state is also at a record high. 16.33% of tests are coming back positive. Dr. Peter Hotez is an infectious disease expert at Baylor College of Medicine, and he warns if there's not significant action taken to stop the spread, we could see 100,000 cases a day in Texas sooner rather than later. Governor Greg Abbott was on WFAA Friday and said that if the most recent restrictions don't make an impact in the coming weeks, then we can expect those restrictions to get even stronger, including a possible second shutdown.
We've taken measures now, such as closing bars, such as requiring masks, such as other enforcement mechanisms that should lead to positive results. If we don't see those positive results, if instead we see the further explosion in the number of people testing positive, especially the hospitalizations and the deaths, additional action will be required.
And the federal funding for those drive-through test centers in Texas, like we have in Dallas County, was set to expire tomorrow. However, a deal has been reached to extend it through the end of the month. We've seen those extensions happen before. Kara, back to you.
All right, thank you, Chris. And Houston hospitals are under pressure. Today, a task force from the Department of Defense will arrive to help, along with the Civilian Disaster Medical Assistance Team. Now, one of the biggest debates right now continues to be the new school year and what it will look like. We're going to hear from parents and teachers every day on this. No surprise there. It's a stressful situation, and there's a lot of different opinions. We're going to go live to Hannah Davis joining us from her house this morning. And Hannah, the clock is ticking as most dates for the school kicking off are about a month away.
Yes, good morning, Karen. I've talked to parents throughout this, and they really earnestly want to make the best decision, and they're trying to get as much information as they can in a situation that changes every single day. But the big question is, school in person, out of person, what does education look like in the time of a pandemic? We're also hearing from national leaders like the Education Treasury Secretary, Betsy DeVos. She spoke over the weekend saying it's really important, in her estimation, for children to get back to school and to return to some sense of normalcy. She said that this is healthy for children, both mentally and educationally. She really describes why. Take a listen.
They've been missing months of learning. Many of them are going to be so far behind, it's difficult to catch up, and particularly for kids from low-income and vulnerable populations, this is devastating to be out of school and not learning for months on end.
In Texas, experts said the learning gap depends on income, with low-income children being more negatively impacted than their higher-income classmates. This, according to data Texas educators collected in the weeks following the dismissal of that in-person schooling. Now, while many are concerned about the quality of education, there are also health concerns. Houston's mayor has openly said it's too early to send kids back, and there are too many unknowns, especially with the virus, the levels that we're seeing across Texas and here in North Texas. And with more questions for many than answers, parents are still having to choose. Fort Worth says their students have 42% of the families are picking online learning instead of in person, and Dallas ISD says their number is about 50% choosing online instead of in person. They say those numbers can change. One of the biggest questions, though, from experts is how transmissible is this virus between children, and how much of a threat is it to children? Health experts say that a lot more research needs to go into that until they can have a definitive answer.